Have you ever wondered why you make certain choices without knowing why? Why you buy what you buy, trust who you trust, and believe what you believe? You might think you are free, that your decisions are yours. But in truth, your mind is constantly being pulled by invisible strings, and the hand that holds them is not always what it seems. Niccolo Machiavelli, centuries ago, warned that people are rarely moved by truth, but by illusion. He wrote that whoever controls perception controls reality. And in the modern world, this has become an art form perfected by politicians, corporations, influencers, and even ordinary people who've learned to use emotional leverage as power. We live in a time where manipulation isn't just a tool, it's a system. Algorithms are designed to predict your weaknesses. Advertisements use psychology to plant desires you never had. Even relationships, friendships, romances are shaped by subtle games of dominance, validation, and control. Machiavelli would not be surprised. He believed that human nature, at its core, is selfish, driven by fear, ambition, and the hunger for survival. And anyone who understands these instincts can use them. He once wrote, "Men are so simple and so much creatures of circumstance that he who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived." It's not a moral judgment, it's a psychological observation, a recognition that manipulation isn't the exception, it's the rule of human behavior. Think about it. When someone flatters you, you lower your guard. When they play the victim, you feel compelled to help. When they give you half-truths wrapped in emotion, your reason shuts down. You see, control today doesn't require chains. It only requires attention. If they have your attention, they own a piece of your mind. And once they own your mind, they can shape your reality. But here's the dark truth Machiavelli knew. The manipulator isn't always the villain. Sometimes, he's just the one who sees the game clearly. While everyone else is still pretending there isn't one, Machiavelli understood something that few dared to admit. People do not seek truth, they seek comfort. They crave the illusion that they are in control, when in reality, they are constantly being shaped by forces they cannot see. He wrote that men judge more by the eye than by the hand, meaning people believe what they see, not what is. And this is the foundation of manipulation. To control others, you don't need power, you only need perception. If you can make someone feel, you no longer need to make them think. Emotion hijacks logic, and in that fragile moment, influence takes root. The manipulator doesn't need to shout, he whispers. He plants the seed, waters it with suggestion, and lets your own mind grow the illusion. He makes you believe it was your idea all along. Machiavelli described this as the art of appearing virtuous while serving your own interests. To appear merciful while being ruthless. To appear honest while hiding intent. He didn't see this as evil, he saw it as necessary. In a world driven by deception, the one who refuses to play becomes the prey. But manipulation isn't only political. It lives in every interaction where someone seeks an advantage. In relationships, it's the lover who withholds affection to create dependency. In workplaces, it's the boss who praises you just enough to keep you loyal, but not enough to make you confident. In society, it's the media that feeds you fear, then sells you security. Every system of control follows the same pattern. Create emotion, direct attention, and exploit desire. Fear is the oldest weapon. Hope is the most powerful one. Fear makes you obey. Hope makes you follow. A ruler who uses both, Machiavelli said, can hold a kingdom forever. Look around. Modern rulers are not kings. They are corporations, influencers, narratives. They don't rule with swords or armies, they rule with screens and dopamine. They don't conquer lands, they conquer attention spans. Social media is the new battlefield. Likes are the new currency of validation. And every scroll, every tap every pause, feeds the algorithm that learns you better than you know yourself. It studies your fears, your insecurities, your triggers, and uses them against you. Not to destroy you, but to keep you engaged. You are not the customer. You are the product. And as Machiavelli would say, the wise man learns to see not what men say, but what they desire. Desire is the key. Every act of manipulation begins with understanding what someone truly wants, not what they claim to want. The manipulator doesn't fight your will, he bends it. He makes you believe you're choosing, even when the choice was already written. He sells you freedom, packaged as dependency. He calls it choice. He calls it expression. He calls it authenticity. But it's control refined, polished, and sold as empowerment. We call this the age of influence. But influence is just a polite word for manipulation that works. People are told to build a brand, grow a following, create engagement. What they are really being taught is to master emotional manipulation, to craft an image that triggers admiration, envy, or desire, to control perception, not reality, to become the kind of person Machiavelli described, one who wins not by truth, but by illusion. And yet, the irony is brutal. Even those who manipulate are also manipulated. The influencer is ruled by the algorithm. The politician is ruled by public opinion. The system devours even its creators. Because once manipulation becomes the law of the world, no one truly wins. Everyone is trapped in a theater of masks pretending to be free while performing for invisible masters. We are living, as Machiavelli predicted, in a world where virtue is displayed like a costume, not lived as a principle, where honesty is a strategy, not a value, and where control no longer feels like oppression, it feels like choice. But deep down, you know something is wrong. You can feel it. The quiet unease that follows every like, every comparison, every news headline designed to outrage you. That is your instinct trying to wake you up. It's the part of you that still remembers what it means to think freely. Because the first rule of manipulation is this: keep them distracted. Make them chase shadows while you control the light. To understand manipulation, one must step inside the mind of the manipulator. Not to justify him, but to see the world as he does. Because the puppet master doesn't see people as people. He sees them as patterns, predictable, programmable, and profoundly emotional. He studies reactions the way a scientist studies experiments. He knows which words trigger comfort and which ones awaken fear. He doesn't speak, he calibrates. Every smile, every silence, every gesture is calculated to create movement in others. To him, morality is noise. Only effectiveness matters. The question is never, is this right? It's, will this work? Machiavelli once wrote that a ruler must learn not to be good when goodness becomes a threat to power. It wasn't cynicism, it was realism. He understood that the human world doesn't reward virtue, it rewards control. And those who understand that rise. The manipulator's mind is cold, not cruel. He doesn't manipulate out of joy, he manipulates out of necessity. He believes the world is a chessboard, and that only fools play with honesty when deception is the rule. But beneath that calculation lies something darker: fear. Fear of losing control. Fear of being ordinary. Fear of being manipulated by someone smarter. So, he strikes first. He builds walls made of charm, strategy, and lies. Because in his world, vulnerability is suicide. That's the paradox of the manipulator. He wants power because he feels powerless. He needs admiration because he cannot love himself. He controls others because he's terrified of being controlled. And when he finally achieves power, it never feels enough. Because power doesn't satisfy it, only amplifies emptiness. Every victory needs another. Every follower needs to be fed. Every illusion must be maintained. Until one day, the manipulator looks into the mirror and sees nothing real, only reflections of reflections. Machiavelli understood this tragedy long before psychology existed. He warned that those who seek power must always be ready to defend it, not only from others, but from themselves. Because the mind that learns to deceive others eventually starts deceiving itself. In the modern world, this mindset has evolved. Today's puppet masters wear different masks. They are CEOs, media strategists, politicians, influencers, even lovers who use affection as currency. They have mastered the art of emotional coding. They know how to exploit loneliness, desire, outrage, and identity. They don't need armies, they have data. They don't need threats, they have algorithms. They study the population like a psychologist studies trauma. They know how long a post must be to hold your attention. They know which colors make you trust, which words make you click, and which emotions make you buy. This is not coincidence, it's design. And yet, it's all an evolution of what Machiavelli began to describe centuries ago. The understanding that truth is optional when perception is profitable, that morality bends to strategy, that the most powerful person in any room isn't the loudest, it's the one who can make others believe what he wants them to. But here lies the deeper horror. The manipulator no longer needs to exist as a person. He has become a system, an invisible intelligence that shapes thoughts, trends, and opinions across millions of minds. He doesn't live in a castle, he lives in your feed. He doesn't wear a crown, he wears an interface. And every time you scroll, react, or share, you are giving him more control. The puppet master is no longer just a man. He is a network, a self-learning organism made of data and desire. He has no name, no face, no ideology. He simply adapts. He feeds on human emotion. The stronger it is, the better. Anger, fear, lust, pride, all of them are energy for the machine. And the cruelest part? We built it ourselves. We called it connection. We called it progress. But it was always control dressed in convenience. Machiavelli might have smiled at this world because it proved him right. Power never disappears. It only changes form. Once it lived in palaces. Now it lives in pockets, glowing, buzzing, whispering our names. The modern puppet master doesn't rule by decree. He rules by suggestion. He doesn't command, he recommends. And you obey because it feels like your own thought. This is the perfection of manipulation. When the slave believes he is free, the moment you realize you are being manipulated is the moment you begin to wake up. But awakening is painful because it means admitting that you were never fully in control. That much of your life, your beliefs, your habits, your fears may have been carefully engineered by others who understood the architecture of your mind better than you ever did. The puppet master doesn't fear rebellion. He fears awareness. Because once you see the strings, they lose their power. Machiavelli said that power is sustained through illusion, not force. People can be controlled indefinitely as long as they believe they are free. So the first act of liberation is not rebellion, it's clarity. You must start to observe your reactions like a scientist watching a storm. Why do you get angry when you read certain headlines? Why do you feel envy when you see certain lives online? Why do you crave validation from people who don't even know you? Every emotional spike is a signal, a hook. Someone, somewhere, is pulling it. And every time you react without reflection, you surrender a little more of yourself. Machiavelli would tell you, the one who controls emotion controls destiny. And that applies not just to rulers, but to you. The most dangerous form of control is not external. It's internalized. It's when your thoughts are no longer your own, but you still call them mine. Modern manipulation doesn't chain the body. It rewires the mind. It makes you fight for the system that exploits you. It makes you defend the lie because the truth would cost your identity. That's why so many prefer comfort over consciousness. Because once you see the puppet strings, you can never unsee them. And suddenly, the world feels heavier, colder, more artificial. But within that discomfort lies freedom. Because awareness is like light. It hurts at first, but it reveals everything. To break the strings, you must first stop moving with them. Observe, detach, question. Every narrative that demands blind emotion is a chain. Every ideology that punishes doubt is a cage. Every person who weaponizes guilt is a manipulator in disguise. The key is not to escape the system that's impossible. The key is to see through it, to play consciously, to recognize the game, but refuse to lose your soul in it. Machiavelli taught rulers to master perception. You must learn to master your own. Because once you understand how influence works, you stop being the audience and become the author. Ask yourself, what do they want me to feel? What do they gain from my reaction? And most importantly, who am I when no one is influencing me? That last question, that's where the chains start to break. The manipulator thrives on predictability. He needs you to react, to crave, to belong, to seek validation. He feeds on your need to be seen. But when you become self-aware, truly aware, his power fades like a shadow before light. Imagine a world where everyone stopped reacting and started reflecting, where outrage became observation, where emotion became insight. The entire system would collapse overnight. That is the ultimate rebellion. Not riots, not hashtags, but self-mastery. When you master your mind, the puppet strings fall away one by one. The noise fades, the illusions dissolve, and what remains is you. Not the version you were programmed to be, but the one you were before they taught you who to become. This is what Machiavelli never wrote directly, but always implied. Power belongs to the one who sees the truth and still chooses to stay conscious in a world built on lies. Because the greatest strength is not domination, it's awareness. And awareness is freedom. We like to believe manipulation is something that others do, that it's the weapon of politicians, corporations, and tyrants. But the truth is far more uncomfortable. We have all become manipulators. We are all a little Machiavellian now. Every time you filter your truth to gain approval, you manipulate. Every time you exaggerate to appear more interesting, you manipulate. Every time you pretend to care to avoid conflict, you manipulate. The difference between the ruler and the ruled is only scale. The age of sincerity died the day social validation became currency. Today, everyone is building an image, polishing a mask, crafting a persona. Machiavelli would have recognized this instantly. He called it the theater of virtue, where people act righteous not because they are, but because it pays to appear that way. You see it everywhere. The influencer who preaches authenticity while staging every frame. The activist who fights injustice online but treats others like tools offline. The brand that sells morality as marketing. Every virtue now is a product, and every emotion is a transaction. Machiavelli once said that men judge more by appearances than by reality. Centuries later, that single sentence became the foundation of the digital age. People don't want truth, they want aesthetics. They don't seek depth, they seek validation. They don't want to understand, they want to belong. The new Machiavellians don't wear crowns, they wear smiles. They don't sit on thrones, they sit behind screens. They don't demand obedience, they harvest attention. And we, willingly, play along. Every click is a confession. Every post is a performance. Every story we tell online is a version of ourselves edited for approval. We've turned our lives into campaigns, each of us a brand, each of us selling something. Our looks, Our talent, our pain, our personality, even authenticity has become a strategy. Be real, they say. But even that, now, is rehearsed. And that's what makes modern manipulation so insidious. It's no longer top-down, it's horizontal. We manipulate each other. We use charm to gain power. We use silence to gain sympathy. We use our wounds as weapons, our virtues as shields, our truths as bait. The age of the digital Machiavelli isn't about kings and kingdoms anymore. It's about individuals fighting for micro-thrones of attention. Each of us seeking dominance in our small spheres, chasing influence, respect, or love. And the more we play, the less human we become. Because the art of manipulation requires masks. And the longer you wear a mask, the harder it becomes to remember who you were underneath. Machiavelli warned that a ruler must always appear moral, even when he is not. But he also hinted that the greatest danger is believing your own performance. When the actor forgets he's acting, the illusion becomes his prison. That's where we are now. We've built digital kingdoms where everyone performs and no one feels, where empathy is simulated, where vulnerability is monetized, where outrage is addictive. The result? A society where everyone is watching and no one is truly seen. But here's the quiet irony. Machiavelli never wrote his book for the masses. He wrote it for one man, the prince, a man who understood power, but also carried the burden of using it. Because to manipulate others without losing yourself requires something rare, self-awareness. That's what separates the real Machiavellian from the imitator. The true strategist knows he is wearing armor and never mistakes it for skin. He controls the illusion, but does not become it. He plays the game but never forgets it is a game. The rest of the world? They drown in their own performance. They confuse validation for worth. They confuse visibility for power. They confuse attention for love. And in doing so, they prove Machiavelli right once again. Most people do not want truth, they only want comfort. And nothing is more comforting than believing the lies we tell ourselves. The greatest rebellion in a manipulated world is to think. Not react, not conform, but to think truly, deeply, painfully think. Because the moment you reclaim your mind, the entire architecture of control begins to collapse. The systems that once shaped your desires start to lose their grip. The lies lose their flavor. The illusions lose their glow. And suddenly, silence becomes louder than noise. Machiavelli's words were never meant to enslave minds. They were meant to reveal the battlefield of human nature, to expose how easily men trade truth for comfort and conscience for gain. He never glorified deception. He simply showed that deception reigns where ignorance thrives. So, if manipulation is the shadow that follows humanity, then awareness is the light that dissolves it. And that light begins with self-mastery. When you master your mind, you become unpredictable. When you become unpredictable, you become uncontrollable. And when you are uncontrollable, you are free. Freedom doesn't mean escaping society. It means refusing to be emotionally programmed by it. It means choosing thought over impulse, clarity over noise, integrity over image. It means walking through the marketplace of illusions and not buying any. The liberated mind does not need to dominate others. It simply refuses to be dominated. It doesn't seek to impress. It seeks to understand. It doesn't react out of emotion, it responds from awareness. This is the new form of strength. Not physical, not social, not even political, but psychological. The strength to remain calm in a world built to provoke you. The strength to stay silent when manipulation begs for your outrage. The strength to think when everyone else has surrendered their thoughts to trends and noise. Machiavelli would have recognized this power instantly. The kind of power that can't be measured in followers, wealth, or fear because it begins and ends within. He once said, The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. And that is the difference between the manipulated and the awakened. The manipulated waits to see what others believe. The awakened decides what is true for himself. When you stop reacting to the world loses its grip on you. And what's left is silence. But it's not emptiness, it's space. Space to feel without control. Space to think without noise. Space to be without illusion. That is where truth lives. Not in systems or ideologies or screens, but in that silent space between stimulus and response. That is where the soul reclaims its throne. The puppet strings fall. The noise fades. The lights of the theater dim. And there you stand raw, real, aware. No longer a puppet, not yet a ruler, but something infinitely rarer. A human being who sees. And once you see, you can never go back. Because freedom doesn't begin with revolution. It begins with realization.